an interactive program brought to you by MTA International.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Faith Matters, a program where you, our viewers on MTA, set the agenda. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank all of you and a very warm jazakumullah for the questions you've been sending in. We have received a wide range of questions covering a wide range of issues as well. And for those of you who don't yet know, the email to send in your question is faithmatters@mta.tv. That's faithmatters, one word, @mta.tv. And there's also a fax number available if you choose to send in your question or your comment by fax, and that's 44 for the UK, 208-687-8037. Some of you have been writing in and asking about comments or previous programs, and I can assure you that we have been responding to that, and YouTube now plays host to the previous Faith Matters programs, and you can find that by putting on MTA Online 1 and Faith Matters, and you'll see the previous programs all there, and an opportunity there as well for you to comment and indeed send any questions through as well. With that, and without further ado, I want to move to welcome our very distinguished panel. Assalamu alaikum, gentlemen. Welcome to Faith Matters. To my immediate right, no stranger to Faith Matters, welcome once again, is Maulana Abdul Ghani Jahangir Khan Sahib, who's head of our French desk. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
To his right is, again, a face who is becoming increasingly familiar and welcome on Faith Matters, is our Naib Amir of the United States, Maulana Azhar Hanif Sahib. Welcome once again.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. And to his right is Dr. Zaid Khan Sahib, who's the president of the Qaza Board, originally from Africa, but now from Gillingham. Welcome, less far to travel, but welcome once again to Faith Matters, Dr. Sahib. Gentlemen, as I said in my very brief introduction, we have been receiving a wide range of questions, comments, and certainly all are very much welcome. But one referred back to a program we've covered before, which were on specific allegations which are being raised about the Jamaat. And they are indeed appearing. There were some programs done on specific Muslim channels elsewhere. Now, one of our own members of the Jamaat has been sort of watching this, and he's sort of raised a question, and I'd like to come to that. This is from Muhammad Budhan Saab from Canada. Jazakumullah for your question. And he writes this. After watching the programs, he asks, what is the teaching of Islam regarding one's attitude towards a religious leader who is revered by millions, but who one perceives to be untrue? Azhar Hanif Saab, if I could start with you on that one.
Yes, it's a very, very important question. Not only in the context of the attitude of some individuals toward the founder of the Jamaat Ahmadiyya, but in general, because the climate we live in now is one that is very delicate, where people's sensitivities and susceptibilities to these type of allegations lead to, as we can see, riots which have taken place in the streets of some countries based on the cartoon issue of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. It's still going on. Yeah. The death threats or even the assassinations of individuals behind these things. So it goes to both sides of the equation, not just the Muslims attacking another individual who they reject as a holy individual, but others, non-Muslims, attacking the character and insulting him in many forms and fashions. So the general context of this is much broader, and I prefer to speak to that issue of a broader context. If we look at first the history of what does Islam say, we must look at Quran and the practice Prophet Muhammad. This is our foundation as a faith. In the Quran, it's very clear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He abhors certain behaviors of human beings, and He mentions them throughout the Quran. And then He abhors one particular attitude of human beings that He says is almost unforgivable. He says, I forgive everything but this one I won't forgive. And that is to associate a partner with God. Nothing greater than that. And yet if you examine the attitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the principle He gave to the Prophet Muhammad towards such individuals who go to this extent of not just insulting the character of a prophet, but insulting God Himself. I mean, this is the central core message of religion. If you destroy God, then you've destroyed religion. So let's not even go to the next level of angels and prophets and the books. But he talks of the greatest principle of my own being.
Yeah.
And here in the Quran, we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a clear-cut instruction of how to treat such individuals who would who have the audacity to insult God himself and blaspheme against his character and insult him, in the very words used to insult him. And I read this from Surah Al-An'am, chapter number 6. The verse here which I'm giving is verse 109. For those who don't believe Bismillah is the first verse, you will go to verse 108. Here Allah says, وَلَا تَصُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَيَسُبُّوا اللَّهَ عَدْوًا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. And revile not those, insult not those, don't use foul language, abusive language, whom they call upon besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the context of this reference is the early era of Islam, when the Holy Prophet Muhammad lived in Mecca, amongst whom? Idolaters. They all in his sight must have been worthy of abuse, if this is the attitude. They all in his sight must have been those whom he must have detested based on their belief and the fact that they are leaders of groups. These were influential men we were talking about now, the leaders of Mecca, who all believed in these idols, who worshipped them, who followed them. He must have felt that every one of them was deserving to be rejected by me, have no respect by me, but that was not his attitude. Because Allah says here in the Quran, do not even abuse their gods, much less their leaders and their people. For, it goes on, it says, lest out of spite they revile Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of spite and ignorance. So it's a common scenario you can project, that once you begin abusing one's leadership or one's God, what will be the result? It'll be tit for tat. And they will begin abusing yours. And we've seen this in the world at large now, I say. So this attitude must be rid from people's minds. This is not the way to bridge a gap, to create a harmonious relationship with other people.